Hello everyone, my name is Drakopoulos and I'm a research fellow at the University of Birmingham under the supervision of Professor Emma Kendrick at the Energy Materials Group. Today I'm going to talk to you about the optimization of the manufacturing process of graphite-based lithium-ion half cells. At first, I will give you a brief overview of the IDMAP project, and then I will move to the results and discussion part of this presentation, which consists of the formulation variations, manufacturing process, and artificial intelligence. Let's talk about the IDMAP project. The IDMAP project was funded by the Innovate UK Faraday Challenge competition, and as a target it had to design high energy density graphite-based electrodes with the maximum cycle life possible. As such, different formulations were examined, and the manufacturing steps were also identified and investigated. After cell testing, the target was to populate the database and use this database to train an NI machine in order to make valid predictions for the future. So for the cell testing, we had a formation step and a cycling step. The formation step consisted of four different discharge charge cycles, and the cycling consisted of 50 discharge charge cycles. In the formulation analysis that we conducted, we examined three different CMC and SBR ratios, and then three types of conductive additives, long or short carbon nanotubes and carbon fibers, and also a non-conductive additive named DSA, which is a dispersant for hydrophobic particles. In all these cases, the graphite concentration was around 94.5%. Moving to the results part of the presentation, this is the cycle life performance of the different formulations that we examined. This graph is given in a D30 versus D5 representation of the data, which is a useful type of graph to show the performance at an initial stage, D5, and also at later stage, D30. So D5 and D30 correspond to the discharge specific capacity at the 5th and the 30th cycle number respectively. So as you can see from the open symbols that are the different CMC and SBR ratios, the one with the optimum performance is the 2/1. This is the sample that has the highest concentration of CMC. In addition, when we're studying the additives that we put into the systems, you can see that all of them are characterized by a constant CMC-SBR ratio of 2/3, and particularly the long carbon nanotubes exhibited the best performance. Moving to the manufacturing process. So here is a control plot that combines the drying temperature with the coating gap size, with the porosity being the property under examination. And as you see from for gap sizes below 200 micrometers, we can affect the porosity without calendaring and reduce it from values above 52% down to 25%. This is particularly important, as we'll see later on in the battery performance of the electrodes. This is another control plot that combines the drying temperature with the coating gap size with the adhesion normal force as the property under examination. Now the adhesion normal force is defined as the force between the graphite-based coating and the current collector. And as you can see, again, we have a great disparity between the values, with the optimum being concentrated again in the area between 150 micrometers and 80 Celsius degrees. So finally here we see how the drying temperature and the gap size correlate to the discharge specific capacity at the 30th cycle. Again, it's the same cells that we've shown before, and as you can see, there's a vast variation in the values in the 30 values from below 25 milliamp hour per gram up to over 325 milliamp hour per gram. And again, we observe that the best combination of manufacturing properties are at gap sizes below 200 and at drying temperatures in the area of 80 degrees Celsius. Finally, we examine the calendaring effect, which is a crucial part of the manufacturing process. And as you can see in the graph on the right, with solid symbols are the calendared electrodes, and with open symbols are the non-calendared electrodes. And indeed, there is a big difference in the cycling performance. Calendaring significantly improves the cycling behavior, and also as a percentage within the graph, you can see the porosities. And the higher the porosities difference between the calendared and non-calendared electrodes, the greater also the cycling performance. To summarize with the experimental data, we use again the same D30 versus D5 representation and a contour plot that combines the anode thickness with the adhesion normal force and the IR drop being a measure of the internal resistance of the cell. And with different circles of different colors, we can highlight the performances of the cells as opposed to where they belong in this contour plot. And obviously, the cells with the higher adhesion forces and the lower IR drops are the ones that are behaving the best. So moving to the artificial intelligence analysis, the AI machine was trained on cells that were uploaded in the database, and in order to properly validate its properties, we needed to use it against experimental data that were not employed in the training. Here, as solid symbols, you see these experimental data, and as colored surfaces, you see the predictions of the AI machine. And as it stands here, they're very close throughout the whole cycle number range. After we made sure that the AI produces valid results, the next natural step was to make predictions. Since the fundamental target of this project was to make high energy density electrodes, we requested the AI machine to give us results for electrodes with active masses over 25 milligrams. So as you can see from the first graph, where the black solid symbols are the experimental data we produced in the lab, and the red lines are the trends that follow this experimental data, the AI predicted values with green and orange symbols corresponding to calendar and non-calendared electrodes were much better than the experimental ones, giving values close to 200 milliamp hour per grams for D30, as opposed to approximately 25 milliamp hour per gram for the experimental ones that we produced. In the rest of the graphs here, you see how both the experimental and the AI predicted results correlate with different properties like anode thickness, porosity, IR drop, adhesion normal force. So to sum up my presentation, in this work, in this IDMAP project funded by the Innovate UK, we produced graphite-based electrodes designed specifically for high energy density applications. We examined different formulations and manufacturing steps in order to optimize our results. And then we populated a database and trained an AI machine in order to use it as a predictive tool towards both industrial and academic environments. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward for your questions. Bye for now.